Now, the Samsung Galaxy S6 is actually one of the best selling phones that ever came out, surprisingly. Even though it was one of the weirdest Samsung Galaxy phones that ever came out, it was impactful, but also it was kind of strange as well. It didn't really have, the best impact for a lot of people. With me specifically, I wasn't really too fond of, Galaxies at that time. I used a Nexus at the time. And so I already kind of didn't like Samsung, but now I love Samsung, but with the S6, it just is so strange in my opinion, because the similarities between the S21 and the S6 are just so crazy. Now, I won't leave an S6 in the description, but I'll leave a couple other phones that I would recommend this year in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, on the front of the Samsung Galaxy S6, you still have a beautiful 5.1-inch Super AMOLED display. It's a 1440p panel, and here's what's crazy. Even though this phone came out in 2015, the resolution and the pixels per inch are higher on the Samsung Galaxy S6 than on the Samsung Galaxy S21, and I think the Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus as well. How crazy is that? That just does not make any sense to me. And actually, the Galaxy S6 still has a pretty good panel on it for sure. It's not a bad panel at all. It still holds up extremely well. Obviously, there's bezel on the top and bottom, but it's really not that bad, it's actually still a pretty decent looking phone. You have the home button on the front, which doubled as a fingerprint sensor, the capacitive buttons on the side, and overall the front of the panel for sure is something that is a plus more than a minus 100% of the facts. So in terms of the front panel, it gets a thumbs up for me in my books. On the bottom, you have that micro USB port, which is typical, the headphone jack as well. And what's very interesting, like I stated before, is that Samsung actually ended up removing the micro SD card slot on this device. And they removed it again on the Galaxy S21. So that's why there's just so much similarity and overlap between the S6 and the S21. I don't really think anybody's really picking up the S6 anymore, but between both, man, that's just so crazy that Samsung actually ended up removing it. It's just very, very strange to me. Now on the back, you do have that glass back with wireless charging, which is really cool. So this was one of the first Samsung phones to bring wireless charging. I do understand that the Galaxy S4 and I think the S5 also had it, but some variants didn't have it. This model, all the variants had it, which was great. This was also the first, Samsung Galaxy S series of device to have a glass back. Even though they enclosed the battery at this point, they had to make that change in order to make the phone feel that much more premium. So this was a pretty big change. I think Samsung was really focusing in on trying to be a premium flagship phone rather than being a device that has all the features and, plastic back and it doesn't feel that great. This was a huge shift in Samsung, and it's pretty crazy because that huge shift took a huge toll on the public image, not as much as the Note 7 or anything, but it was definitely up there. So the way this phone still feels in the hand is very good. It still feels like a flagship phone. It doesn't feel cheap. The only thing that really ages it is like the top and bottom bezel, but other than that, it still looks pretty good. Now,